Now the question then is, wait a minute here. That's kind of absurd. How this system come into being? How is it created? Okay, well actually, there's a very easy explanation for where we got the system from. All right, so let me explain the history and the origin of the system. So in the beginning, it was merchants who engaged in finance because merchants needed money in order to facilitate trade. Okay? And some merchants became extremely wealthy. And when they became very wealthy, they started banks in order to support trade and other merchants. Okay, so these banks traded in gold because that was the primary source and supply of money back then. Okay, so what happened is you would come and you would put your money, your gold, in the bank for safekeeping. And the bank would give you a contract, right? A contract is just saying, thank you for giving me your gold. I promise to give back your gold at any time that you want it. And that's what we call a receipt, right? And this would allow for better and easier trade. Because now I can take this contract and I can go to England, okay? Maybe I'm based in Italy. But now I can go to England and say, listen, I need to buy cotton or bananas from you. And the person is like, well, what are you gonna give me? I'm gonna give you gold, right? So I take the receipt and I give it to you, right? And why do we do this? Because it's a lot easier than giving gold to other people. And so this system would facilitate trade throughout the world. Does it make sense? Now, I'm the bank. I have all this gold. And I want to make money with it. So I want to give it to other people. So other merchants would come to me and say, listen, I need gold. Can you lend me out gold? Right? But I say to him, yeah, but if I give you out the gold, you have a security issue. It's inconvenient for you. So why don't I give you a receipt, a contract instead? Does that make sense? Because all I need is a contract, all I need is a receipt in order to go and do trade elsewhere. Right? So by doing this, what I've done is I've doubled the gold in my bank, right? I've created money out of nothing. So the gold is still 5 million. That hasn't changed, but the receipt is now 5 million plus 5 million. So theoretically, I now have 10 million in the bank. All right? So that's how money and finance works. Now, there's a problem with this system. What's the problem with this system? What do you mean?
Why would the other people take the receipt as gold? As
Okay, that's a good question, okay? Why is it that people believe in me? Okay? The answer is very simple. The answer is because throughout most of human history, people didn't need money. If you were just a normal person, what were you doing? Were you in a village growing crops? If you wanted to like get new stuff, what would you do? You would trade with someone else, right? Maybe you have a gold that I want. Well, then I would trade you a cow for it. So we didn't actually need money. So throughout most of human history, no one had any need for money. It was only in certain circumstances that you would want money. So for example, marriage, right? Okay? So throughout most of human history, money represented debt that could be unpaid. Debt that could never be repaid. So for example, a very common thing is, maybe you and I fight, and I kill you. Well, in theory, your family should now come and kill me. But obviously that would create a lot of problems, right? So the way to settle the dispute is I would give your family money. Because money was symbolically meant to say, I'm sorry I killed you. This is a debt that can never be repaid. Okay? That's what money was used for in most circumstances throughout human history. There was no actually real use for money. It was symbolic. But with the rise of trade and with merchants, they needed money in order to facilitate the trade. But these merchants all knew each other, so they trusted each other anyway. So money was a mechanism for them to trade easier, okay? Does that make sense? All right? Okay, so let's go back to the question. This system looks great. I can print money out of nothing, but there's a problem with this system. What is the problem? There's a problem here.
Like you can forge the receipts and, the money fakes.
Okay, that's actually a great question, okay? So, yeah, is it possible to forge the contract? Okay? So, that's a really good point. The problem is, so the answer is that they all knew each other anyway. Okay, because it's a very small circle. Again, we have not reached the modern period where it's a lot of people using money. If that's the case, then forgery becomes a problem. We'll discuss this in future classes, okay? Counterfeiting. But at this point in history, forgery is actually not a big issue. There's actually a bigger issue. And it's a huge issue. What's the issue? I have $5 million of gold, right? There's about $10 million of gold out there in receipts. What's the problem with that? The problem is that if everyone wants to go at the same time, I go bankrupt, right? Because I lose my reputation. The contract says that at any time you want the gold, I must give it to you. But if I have if there's $100 million in gold contracts, but I only have $10 million in gold, only if 15 million wants the gold back, then I'm screwed. This is what we call a bank run. Okay, a bank run. And this is a huge problem for merchants. Okay? There's also another problem with the system, and the problem is this. Who do I usually lend my money to? Do you guys know? If I'm a bank, if I'm a merchant, who do I usually lend my money to? Okay, guys, today we lend the money to entrepreneurs. But back then, there really weren't entrepreneurs. There were kings and noble people. And what did they do all the time? Why did they need money? To fight wars, okay? That's why there's a demand for gold. Because if I'm a king, I need to fight a war, usually against my brother or someone else to control this territory, right? Now, the problem with this is I could get killed, in which case, oops. But also, what's much more common is the king would be like, screw you, bank, I don't need to pay you back. Okay? So there's actually a lot of risks with this system. So over time, develop a system to mitigate or reduce this risk. Okay? What would they do? What they would do is they would create cartels. Cartels are just partnerships. So maybe this bank works with another bank, throughout Europe. And the way they establish these cartels is usually through intermarriage, right? They would marry each other, they would combine together. And that way, let's say 15 million of receipts wants back the gold, but there's only 10 million. Well, guess what? You just go to another bank, okay? And let's just say a king decides, I'm not gonna pay you back, bank. Well, your bank works with other banks to establish a new enemy to kill the king to get the money back. Do you understand? And this system is what we call today central banking. And what you will learn in this class is